with my predecessor in the 3rd year of the reign, when Ahasuerus sat on the Shushan throne, showing off his game. 127 provinces, from India to the sand, a feast of 180 days for the nobles of the land. White and blue linen, gold and silver on the floor, royal wine in abundance, but the king wanted more. The decree is written, the law is set in stone. What starts in the palace reaches every home. The queen said no when the eunuchs called her name, and the laws of the Medes and Persians were never the same. On the 7th day of wine, he sent for Vashti's crown, to show the world her beauty, to bring her presence down. But she refused the summons, she wouldn't stand in sight, and the king's heart burned with a furious, angry light. He turned to the 7 princes, the wise men of the day, asking, what does the law demand? What must she pay? The decree is written, the law is set in stone. What starts in the palace reaches every home. The queen said no when the eunuchs called her name, and the laws of the Medes and Persians were never the same. Memucan spoke the warning, all women soon will hear. If the queen defies the crown, then husbands live in fear. So the first decree was drafted, that she should come no more, and her royal place was opened, an empty golden door. The letters went to every script and every tongue and land, that every man should master the house with his own hand. A vacancy was created, a providence in disguise, preparing for a daughter of Zion to rise in the king's eyes. The law was signed, the position was empty, and my story was just beginning.
King's wrath grew cold in the Shushan night. He remembered Vashti's face and her prideful flight. The decree was done, but the throne was bare. So the servants whispered, let us seek the fair. From every province the virgins were brought. For the one who pleases him, the crown is sought. Under Haggai's hand, in the citadel walls, the scent of myrrh begins to fill the halls. There was a man of Benjamin, Mordecai his name, who carried a secret from the city of flame. He raised Hadassah, a star in the dark, without mother or father, but she carried the spark. She was lovely to look at, beautiful and rare, taken to the palace, to the eunuch's care. She obtained his favor, she took the best place, while I kept my people hidden from his face. 6 months in oil, 6 months in sweet perfume, waiting for the moments I enter the room. 12 months awaiting, just to see his face, to take the crown or live in a concubine's place. I asked for nothing but what the keeper advised, obtaining favor in every man's eyes. The month was Tebeth, the 7th year of the reign. I was taken to the palace through the gates of pain. The king loved me more than all who came before. He set the gold upon me and he closed the door. A great feast was made, the feast of Esther, they cried. A holiday for the people, for the king's new bride. I sat in the glory, but the secret remained, following Mordecai's word, though a queen I was named. While Mordecai sat at the king's great gate, he heard the whispers of a dark, bloody fate. Bigthan and Teresh, the keepers of the door, wanted hands on the king, wanted blood on the floor. The matter was known, the warning was sent. In the name of Mordecai, to the king it went. The gallows were ready, the traitors were hung, and the deed was recorded, while the praises were sung. The king's chronicles are written. The savior of the crown is noted, but my people are still a secret, and the real war is coming. The atmosphere changed when Haman rose to power. The son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, found his hour. The king set his seat above every prince in the land, and commanded the knee to bend at the wave of his hand. At the king's gate, the shadows began to grow tall, as the servants hit the dust, answering Haman's call. But one man stood like a stone in a rushing flood. Mordecai wouldn't bow, it was written in his blood. They whispered to him daily, why break the king's command? But he held his ground, the only Jew left to stand. So they ran to the Agagite to see if the word would hold, and Haman's heart turned black, bitter and cold. He wouldn't take just one man, he wanted the root, to crush the whole vineyard and trample the fruit. He looked at my people, scattered and far, and decided to extinguish every morning star. They cast the pearl, they threw the silver die in the month of Nisan under a blood-red sky, looking for a day, looking for a month to kill, waiting for the lot to bow to a murderer's will. From the 1st to the 12th, the dark shadow falls, while the sound of the dice echoes through the palace walls. Haman went to the king with a tongue slick as grease. There's a people among us who will never bring peace. Their laws are different, they ignore what you say. It's not for your profit to let them stay. 10,000 talents of silver, the price for our heads, to fill up the treasury with the wealth of the dead. The king took the ring, the seal of the hand, and gave the enemy total command. On the 13th day, the scribes began to write a decree of annihilation, a sentence of night to the satraps, the governors, in every tongue and script. Destroy, kill, and plunder, the orders were stripped. Young and old, women and children, all in one day. On the 13th of Adar, the Jews are the prey. The couriers flew, the law was made fast. The shadow of the gallows was finally cast. The king and Haman sat down to drink their wine, thinking everything was settled, everything was fine. But outside the palace, the city is torn. Shushan is perplexed, and my people mourn. The ring is on his finger, the lot has been cast, but the story isn't over, not by a long shot.
Yeah. Some things just can't wait. You gotta stand for something, or you'll fall for anything. I heard the news today, and it cut me to the bone. The silver has been promised, and the seeds of death are sown. So I tore my clothes, baby. I put the ashes on my head, walking through the city square, mourning for the dead. Don't you think you're safe, child, just 'cause you wear a crown? When the hammer hits the anvil, the whole house is coming down. If you keep your silence now, the wind will blow from somewhere else. But you and all your father's house will find a different hell. The queen sent down some fine clothes, tried to cover up my grief, but silk and purple linen won't bring this soul relief. I sent the word back with Hathach, told him everything I knew about the 10,000 talents and the blood Haman will brew. Who knows why the stars aligned, or why the wind has hissed? Maybe you were born for the throne, for such a time as this. The clock is ticking, Shushan, and the king is holding the gold.
The third day dawned, I wore the robes of a queen, step into the court where the silent shadows lean, facing the throne where the law says I should die, waiting for the king to look me in the eye. The air was thick as honey, my life was on the line. Then he reached out the gold, the scepter, the sign. I touched the tip of mercy, I felt the fever break. He said, half my kingdom, Esther, is yours for the taking. I didn't ask for heads, I didn't play my hand. I said, bring her man to the feast that I have planned. We sat at the banquet, he asked me once again, what is your petition among the sons of men? I whispered, if I found favor, if the king is truly mine, come back tomorrow night for more laughter and more wine. One more feast with Haman, then I'll tell you what I need, planting the harvest while I'm hiding the seed. Keep your friends close, but the enemy closer still. Pour the royal wine until he's had his fill. One man sees a banquet, the other sees a snare, while a 50-cubit shadow rises in the air. He walked out of that palace feeling like a god, because I invited him and the king gave him the nod. But then he saw that man sitting at the gate. Mordecai didn't tremble, he didn't even wait. Haman's joy turned into poison, his heart began to burn. No matter what he has, it's that head for which he yearns. He went home to Zeresh, he bragged about his gold, but as long as my people breathe, his glory's getting cold. His wife saw the fire, she said, why wait for the day? Build a gallows 50 cubits high and sweep the trash away. In the morning, tell the king to hang him from the wood, then go and feast with Esther. Man, life is looking good. The idea tasted sweeter than the wine in his cup. He called for the carpenters to start building it up. A towering beam of cedar reaching for the sky, thinking tomorrow morning Mordecai
gonna learn how to die. The hammers are knocking in the middle of the night. Haman is smiling, waiting for the light. I am praying, and the gallows are standing tall.
The candles burn down, down to the wick. The king is restless, the air is thick. He told me, read the records, boy, find me a song. And I found the man who'd been right all along. Mordecai at the gate, the plot in the dark, a hero forgotten, a missing spark. The sun hit the court with a sharpened edge. Haman steps in with a murderous pledge. He's got a rope in his pocket and pride in his breath. He came for a favor, he came for a death. But the king asked a question, a trap made of gold. How do I honor a man brave and bold? The man the king delights to honor. Haman paints a picture of a kingly view, not knowing the road is for the Jew. The crown's on the horse, the parade's in the street, while the ground turns to ice under Haman's feet. From the window, I heard the cry. Haman leading the horse, a lie in his eye, shouting the praise of the man he hates, while his own gallows shadows the palace gates. He went home covered, he went home cold, to a wife who told him his story was sold. The king is calling, the banquet is spread, and the crown is still sitting on Mordecai's head.
table is set, the wine is pouring red, but I've got ghosts and shadows dancing in my head. 3 days of fasting, 3 nights of prayer. Now the smell of betrayal is hanging in the air. The king looks at me, says, Esther, what's your price? I'll give you half my kingdom, just name your sacrifice. I said, if I found favor, if you love me like you say, don't let the morning sun sweep my life away. We've been bartered, we've been traded, we've been sold, not for silver, not for bronze, not for bags of gold. We've been marked for the slaughter, marked for the knife. I'm standing here, king, pleading for my life. Oh, the king rose up, he had thunder in his eyes. He said, who would dare to weave these murderous lies? I didn't flinch, I didn't turn, I didn't run. I pointed to the man who thought that he had won. I was born for a purpose, born for a risk, and I'm standing here for such a time as this. Yeah, the adversary is sitting at your board. It's wicked Haman, and he's sharper than a sword. Haman started shaking, he fell down on his knees, begging for a mercy that he never offered me. The king walked out to the garden, let his anger bloom, while the shadow of the gallows filled up the room. He came back in and saw Haman on my bed, and that was the moment Haman was as good as dead. They covered up his face, they took away his light. The man who loved the sun is heading for the night. Then Harbona whispered, King, you know the tree Haman built it for the man who set you free. The king didn't hesitate, he didn't even blink. He pushed Haman right over the edge of the brink. Hang him on it, the king gave the word, the sweetest command that I ever heard. The wrath is gone, the wine is bitter and sweet, and Haman's hanging 50 cubits above the street. Yeah, I was born for the fire, born for the risk, and I saved my soul for such a time as this. Of the enemy is standing in my name. The man who sought my life has been put to shame. The king took the ring from the hand of the dead and placed the weight of the law on my finger instead. I I saw Esther fall down, weeping at his feet, saying, "King, the first decree is a bitter thing to eat, but the law of the Medes is a stone that won't roll unless you write a new word to save a nation's soul." The king said, "Write it down, write it fast and true. Whatever you seal, no man can undo." I called for the scribes, I called for the ink. We stood on the edge and we didn't even blink. From India to Kush, 100 provinces wide, we sent out the word on a royal tide. Every tongue, every script, every gate, every wall, gonna hear the news of the rise and the fall. Give me the horses, give me the swift steeds. The king signed the paper for my people's needs. What was written in blood is now written in gold. A story of justice is about to be told. The seal is set, the decree is flying fast. The first shall be silent, and the light shall last. Hear the hooves on the road, hear the thunder in the street. They're riding through the dust, they're riding through the heat. An hour is coming, but the fear has changed sides. The Jews are standing tall while the enemy hides. The morning is over, the sackcloth is torn. A brand new day of the Spirit is born. I walked out of the palace in the blue and the white, a crown on my head shining like the light. Shushan is shouting, the city's gone wild, for the man they once mocked and the people reviled. There's a feast in the kitchen, a song in the air. The smell of the holiday is everywhere. Even the strangers are joining the line, because they see that the favor is yours and it's mine. Light and gladness, joy and honor. The ring is on my finger and the king is on his throne. Yeah, the decree is out, and my people are coming home.
Of Adar arrived with a shadow on the floor. The day my enemies were waiting at the door. They cast the purr, they drew the lot. They thought my fate was sealed, but they didn't know the power that a queen's petition yields. We gathered in the streets, we stood together as one. And by the time the clock struck noon, the work was nearly done. The fear of Mordecai fell like a hammer on the land, and the governors and princes had to stay their hand. In Shushan, the citadel, 500 men went down, and Haman's 10 sons lost their name and their crown. The king asked me, Esther, what is your heart's desire? The streets are full of blood, and the city's full of fire. I said, give us one more day to finish what we've started. Let Haman's sons be hanged, so the wicked are departed. We didn't touch the plunder, we didn't take a cent. We only took the justice for which we were sent. Oh, the lot was cast, but the tables have turned. The bridge the enemy built is the one that he burned. From mourning into holiday, from sorrow into song, this is the month where we finally belong. I'm writing the letter, I'm signing the page. The story of our people is turning the stage. On the 14th we rested, on the 15th we cheered. We looked at the gallows and we no longer feared. I sent the word to every province, every tongue and tribe, with the authority of heaven that no man could bribe. Send a gift to your brother, give a hand to the poor, because the shadow of the slaughter is at our heels no more. I, Esther, daughter of Abihail, write it in the book, so every generation can come and take a look. Remember these days of Purim, keep them in your heart. Tell them how the queen played a dangerous part, how the month of our ending became our new birth, and the joy of the Jews shook the corners of the earth. It is written, it is sealed, the victory of Adam is finally revealed. Purim, Purim, let the celebration ring. I stood for my people in the house of the king.
Taxes are flowing from the islands and the shore. The king is on his throne, and we don't hear the sounds of war. The tribute's coming in across the land and sea. Ahasuerus is resting in his power and majesty. But if you want the story, if you want the truth told plain, don't just look at the crown or the glory of the reign. Look at the records, look at the ink on the page. Look at the man who stepped onto the stage. Is it not written in the books of the kings how cloth, took the signet ring from the palace gates to the second in command. He brought the light of justice back to the land. Yeah, the chronicles keep it, the story is set, a name that the ages are never gonna forget. Now Mordecai is standing right beside the throne, but he never forgot the people he calls his own. He didn't seek the silver, he didn't seek the fame, he just sought the good of every soul who shared his name. He's speaking peace to the brothers, peace to the small. He's the pillar in the temple, the watchman on the wall. Well received by the many, loved by the few, the greatest son that Shushan ever knew. The light was cast in shadow, but the day ended in light. The record started with a plot in the middle of the night. From the gallows of the wicked to the honor of the brave, it's a long road from the garden to the people he helped save. Close the book of media, seal the Persian scroll. The story's been written, and the story is whole. Until the end of time, speaking peace, seeking good, just like a brother should.